What food best describes your personality?
Shucks.
Sinigang? Sinigang. Maasim.
Sinigang ng manam. May fusion ng kakaiba.
Ayun.
Ang mahirap kapag family business, hindi mo alam kung saan yung line from being a family to being business people.
Hey, welcome back to Built Different, a show where we have different guests on here every week to share about their business tips, life stories, and maybe even some leadership advice. My name is Rhett, and I'll be your host for today's episode. Have you guys ever wondered how one individual can seamlessly blend media, advocacy, and entrepreneurship to drive meaningful change? Well, today we have a dynamic force in youth leadership and civic engagement. Our guest is a seasoned broadcaster and host, having hosted programs on PTV4 and TVUP. He's also the former head of community at Rappler. As a chairperson of the 2030 Youth Force Asia Pacific and co-founder of the 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines, he's been at the forefront of mobilizing youth for the Sustainable Development Goals. Currently, he serves as the Development Communication Specialist at the Asian Development Bank and lectures at the UP Open University. Our guest for this week's episode, please welcome the multifaceted Mr. Jules Guihan.
Hi, Rhett. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, thank you so much for being here.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
And it's also our first time meeting.
Yes.
So maybe for those listeners who are meeting you for the first time as well, we can get to know more about your life story and maybe even your career development on this week's episode. And I think a good place to start would be maybe what happened during college, and then we can move on
Sure.
from that.
So yeah, I studied at UP Diliman, and I took up public administration for my bachelor's degree in 2009 until 2014. So it took me 5 years, supposedly 4 years only. But I was kind of busy with student council work, so I had to distribute some of my units in the other years. So my whole stay for my bachelor's was 5 years.
Okay.
So yeah, I was pretty busy with student council in my college and the entire university.
Right, yeah. So after you finished public ad, your course, you went to...
Yeah, actually, when I was a junior in my third year in UP, or second year, I was already working with PTV4. So as early as 2012, I was working as one of the reporters. Until I graduated in 2014, I was absorbed on a full-time basis in PTV. It's a state broadcast channel of the government. So since then, since 2014, I've been hosting its morning show from 2014 until 2020, before the pandemic. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so matagal-tagal din.
A bit, yeah. Almost a decade, 8 years.
How was your experience like on the show?
On the show, siguro I wanted to focus first with my life as a reporter.
Right.
Kasi if you've heard of the names like Corina Sanchez, other big names in the industry, most of them started at PTV as production assistants and among others. But basically the same or the usual experience that they had is almost the same as I had. So on my first day, I was waiting for a training or a meeting to do a run through of what will happen in the field.
Right.
But on my first day, I was sent to the field to cover on my first day. So walang training at all. Basically, your first training is to be on camera. And I remember my first story was about the funeral of Dolphy. So during that time, so wala akong kaalam-alam talaga. Pero yeah, it's good to really watch the news and observe how the other newscasters and reporters do it. So yun yung knowledge ko lang at that time. And it was a good training for me kasi 2 years akong reporter, field reporter ng PTV4 while also studying. So during that time, hindi pa 100% digital ang PTV or even other networks like now na you can easily edit wherever you are on your phones or your laptops. During that time, 2012, you were still using tapes. The smaller tapes. So sabi nila mas high-tech na raw that time kasi smaller na. Kasi before yung tapes nila malalaki talaga. So parang when I go to a story, meron akong 4 to 5 to 6 tapes just to do my interviews for a 3-minute interview. So ganun ka gastos before. So that was my experience during the start as a reporter. What do you call that? Night shift. Parang night shift siya, pero yung beat ko starts at 11 p.m. until 7 a.m. So, lahat yun na pagdaanan ko before landing on the morning show and then having my youth debate show and other shows with BTV.
Right.
Yeah.
Yung mga shows na you took part in, was that something you developed or was that given to you as a project?
I think paano ba? Ito. Siguro the reason why they gave me the morning show stint was when I was running for vice chair of UP Diliman Student Council, I was still with PTV4. Since then, I was very vocal with different issues, social issues. And during that time, I think it was 2012. It was the impeachment of former Chief Justice Renato Corona. Tama ba? Yes. Corona. So, during that time, PTV got me as one of their youth panelists doon sa weekly show nila. So, weekly nandun ako sharing my thoughts about the matter until na-impeach na nga yung Chief Justice. And then the director approached me, sabi niya, parang, what time do you wake up? Sabi niya sa akin. Usually, 10 minutes before class. Pero sabi niya, can you wake up before 7 a.m.? Sabi ko, why? Parang salid na raw ako sa morning show. So, since then, tuloy-tuloy na siya. Then, I strive to do well in the morning show. Tapos, they gave me schoolmates. It's the youth debate show. So, kami yung first batch nun. Kasi ngayon, tuloy-tuloy pa rin siya. I really love that show kasi basically, they gave me a platform where I can share my different opinions on different social issues.
Right. And speaking of like your motivation to tackle and really dabble into these social issues, can you tell me the story behind the 2030 Youth Force?
Sure. 2030 Youth Force, we started in 2016, but prior to that, the National Youth Commission asked me to represent the Philippines for a meeting of several youth leaders in Bangkok. In their UN office in Bangkok. So I was the sole representative of the Philippines. And our main task was to create a regional-wide youth group that will help the UN promote the SDGs for all of the youth, for the millions of youth in the Asia Pacific. So we created 2030 Youth Force, Asia Pacific.
Right.
So I think we were only 19 youth leaders during that time. And our main task after Bangkok is to go home, of course, and to create a chapter. I think it took me 2 months since going home before really doing something about it. So what I did was I just typed on Facebook and asked people if they're interested with the SDGs and if you want to talk more about the SDGs, to create a campaign, etc. And then in less than 2 hours, parang more than 200 people signified their interest. And then since we have 200 people there, we created a Facebook group. And then I think it took us 2 weeks or 3 weeks to talk about what we want to do with the SDGs. And then the consensus was to create an organization. So we created the 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines in 2016. From a youth membership of only less than 30, I ended my term after 3 years in 2019 with 4,000 members all over the Philippines. But of course, aside from the quantity, we were our main the next priority of the next convener. So we call ourselves as conveners. The next convener was to focus more on the quality of how we can train more youth leaders to advocate for the SDGs. Kasi nung start, parang the main mission of the UN is to help them drumbeat the SDGs. Kasi it was only 2016. 2015 was the birth of the SDG. So it wasn't so popular back then. So we help make noise for the SDGs, what the SDGs are about, beyond the colorful icons, among others. So yeah, probably one of the milestones that we did during my term, for my first 3 terms, was we created this initiative with the Philippine National Police. If you remember, during that time, 2019, it was the height of the extrajudicial killings of that administration. So some of the members, or even my friends outside the youth force, was asking me, why the hell will you partner with the PNP? So I mean, it's a valid opinion, but I told them, I mean, at the end of the day, they're still part of society. They're part of the institutions that we should be working with. And we had this activity at Camp Karingal in Quezon City. The PNP basically allowed us to paint a half a kilometer mural outside their camp. And we tapped so many students, and they painted their take on each SDGs, with emphasis on SDG 16 for peace, justice, and strong institutions. So basically, that was our take, to remind the institution that there should be peace, order, and due process, basically. So yun yung way namin to tell them, our creative way to engage with the institution to respect human rights.
Right. Okay, so you started it 2016.
Yeah.
It's going on for almost 10 years na.
Yes, it's our 10th year next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
And then malapit na rin yung 2030, no?
Correct.
Which is the culmination ba, or parang the target?
Unfortunately, sabi ng UN, mukhang hindi ma-meet yung SDGs. So, most likely, magkakaroon ng revamp dyan sa campaign. But a bit, may mga na-achieve naman, but not all 17 SDGs.
Right.
Yeah.
In leading that type of organization, ano yung mga usual challenges? Whether it be managing and leading yung people mo, or obstacles in society, or other contradictions with the organization.
Right. So when we started in 2016, most of my fellow members were actually youth leaders from different universities as well. Some I'm familiar with, some are from UP, from Ateneo, DLSU, UST, and even in the provinces. So the usual challenge during that time was all of us were young professionals. So parang parang nabitin kami nung college, kaya sila nag-yes apparently. Yun sabi nila na they wanted to do more for their communities. That's why they chose to join the youth force. But of course, when you're starting an initiative, you need to create a portfolio, diba? For people, for other members, or even for other sponsors or institutions to trust your organization, for them to support you. So, mahirap mag-organize that time kasi ano na ba yung napatunayan nyo? Diba? Wala pa. So, kailangan mo talaga ng sobrang galing na pag-pitch doon sa organization. Parang what's the difference of your organization sa iba? Diba? What's your unique take on the SDGs? So, what we realized was, kailangan meron kang compelling narrative to, ano yung hook mo sa kanila basically, para maniwala sila. And when you start engaging with them, kapag nakuha mo na yung hook mo sa kanila, you need to sustain that relationship. So, relationship building na. So, yun, to start gathering support, financial, of course, that's very important. As in, yung start, ambag-ambag talaga lahat. Parang, for sure naman, hindi naman siya babalik agad. Pero, since we love what we're doing that time, so, all out kami that time. So, yun yung start. Next was youth leaders lahat to. Mga big names sila from different universities. So, you're also dealing with different egos during that time. Kasi parang, ano kayo founding members kayo lahat. So, lahat kayo may say dyan. So, parang, my experience with that, during that time was how I can basically be very democratic, but at the same time decisive. Kasi, syempre, ako yung founder So, hindi naman pwedeng walang limit yung debates, yung usap-usap. So, yun yung isang challenge nung start na eventually it became my strength as well, na despite dealing with different people with big egos. You need to have a decisive direction na hep, ito na yun, parang na ano na natin, na pag-usapan na natin lahat, umiikot na lang tayo, so we need to decide. So, it was a good exercise for all of us, and at the same time, humbling experience for me as well.
Okay. Speaking of the members of your team, you mentioned na at the beginning, you were all juggling, parang building your career din. So, while you were establishing this organization, you were currently working din ba?
With PTV, yes. Tuloy-tuloy yun. And, until before the pandemic. Actually, in the morning show, kasi during that time, PTV was really supportive of what I'm doing. So, they gave me a weekly segment in the morning show. And we called it SDG Tambayan. So, it's like this, pero it's aired live. So, what I did that time was, I booked different youth leaders, and we focus on their initiatives for at least 7 minutes per week. So it was a good platform for our fellow advocates during that time.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after PTV, when did you get into ADB?
Yeah. Very long story. It was 2020 pandemic, so all of us were going crazy. Kasi di natin alam kung ano nangyari. As I mentioned, I've been very vocal with all different kinds of issues. And I think it was that time when I drew the line with the former administration, because it was the height of the EJ case. To me, this is just my opinion, their incompetence on the handling of the COVID virus that time. So I was speaking out on social media, and then the ABS-CBN issue happened. The franchise was not renewed. So I just shared my piece on Twitter, and then that specific tweet was the reason why I got fired from PTV. So it was kind of funny that they recruited me at PTV because of my being vocal, and then I was fired for being vocal as well. So that was the end of my career with PTV. I think I thought that was also the end of my career with TV, but I'll be updating you later. So in 2020, I was jobless during the pandemic. So imagine the frustration. And then come November, I got this stint with ADB via NEDA. So kasi may ginagawa silang ganun mga mission sa iba't ibang department. So I stayed with NEDA for 9 months until Maria of Rappler, Maria Reza recruited me to become head of community of Rappler. Ayun. Until the 2022 elections. Ayun. So that was my pivot from BTV, ADB, Rappler, back to ADB.
Okay. What was the experience like working in Rappler?
With at Rappler, I was directly reporting to Maria. So imagine, in my weekly meetings with her, para ako nasa TED Talk. Ganon, as in, isipin mo Nobel Prize winner yung boss mo, di ba? So, sobrang dami talaga. Para siyang libro na nagnanarrate ng mga sinasabi niya. Sobrang galing talaga. So, it was a very meaningful experience for me and for my career growth. Kasi it was my first time to be a manager. Kasi imagine being a broadcaster, tapos biglang you're a manager in Rappler, handling the community. So that involved digital communications, their social media basically, Move PH, their community engagement arm, grants and partnerships. So we were dealing with different organizations from different countries basically, and then you have Rappler Plus, their paid membership. So it was a good experience, especially the context during that time was the elections. So imagine it was the Duterte time, and Rappler was being, how do I say this? They had so many cases from the government, and Maria was almost imprisoned, right? Or she was, at least for some hours. So, yun, sobrang interesting nung time na yun kasi pero nakakapagod. So that was also the reason why after the elections, I told Maria na I think I need to end my wonderful experience with Rappler and then move forward now with ADB.
Okay. Just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
kasi minsan lang kami makapag like makakuha ng stories of someone who worked with Maria. Are there any like leadership advice that stood out?
Well, pwede sa leadership and sa communication siguro to, na lagi yung sinasabi na we are on a daily basis, we're always busy with our tasks. And the only feasible approach is to only focus to 3 main tasks. Only 3. Huwag mo nadagdagan. Kung gusto mo dagdagan, ilagay mo sa baba ng isa sa mga tatlo na yun. But 3 main tasks to ensure that you're not frustrated, na wala kang hindi nagagawang iba. Just focus on these 3. Kasi ito lang yung kakayanin ng brain cells mo at ng energy mo for that day. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to be very clear with your communications. Of course, it's a media organization, but at the same time, I was dealing with so many organizations. Kasi if you've heard of Facts First PH, it's a campaign that we started for the elections, countering disinformation. So it's always important to know your audience. You know, you have this kind of messaging, but you need to tweak them depending to your different communities. If you're talking to lawyers, if you're talking to NGO leaders, if you're talking to fellow media organizations. So I learned that from her, to be very flexible with relaying your message to your partners. And relationship building. So yun yung isa sa natutunan ko sa kanya, na it's very important na you're not just there entering a partnership with them just because you need money for the organization, or just because you want to comply with milestones within the partnership. It's more of going beyond a contract. Na how can you take care of that relationship while you're in your contract with Rappler and even beyond. So yun yung na-gets ko, na even tapos na yung term ko sa Rappler, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung engagement ko with the partners kasi we took care of that relationship. Yun.
Kumbaga, you solidified that relationship.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So, you've dabbled into broadcasting and then being head of community in Rappler. But you were also balancing this with other things as well. You've dabbled into the restaurant business.
Correct.
Can you tell me the story behind Urban Chick?
Sure. Well, Urban Chick is a family business. It started in 2013 ba? So during my PTV days pa. But this year, if you're watching it into 2025, we're turning 12 or 12th year this year. So we started as a very small restaurant. We just opened our garage in Maginhawa. Kasi diba, Maginhawa is once a residential area, but now it's a mixture of residential and commercial area. Before, parang less than 20 restaurants. Right now, you have more than 150 restaurants along and around the area. So, year per year, we can see the physical growth of the business, from just being a very small restaurant to a full-blown restaurant serving 70 to 100 customers in one sitting. Tapos, in 2020, so pandemic happened, wala pa kaming food deliveries that time kasi hindi pa siya ganun ka-popular. So we were forced to do that kasi bawal ang dine-in. So many restaurants in Maginhawa had to close down kasi the bills are still running, your rents are still running, tas wala kang business kasi you cannot accommodate customers. So what I thought during that time, we need to do something, especially nung medyo nawala na yung lockdown, na why not engage with my fellow restaurant owners and think about what can we do as a community. So we started with 5 members, and now 2025 we have more than 80 restaurant members already. So the compelling message there is, in times of challenging times, in times of challenging moments like that, you really need to go beyond limitations. So what were our limitations that time? We were all competitors, right? Kasi businesses kami, nag-aagawan kami ng customers. Pero we realized na now is the time to unite, to bring back the buzz in Maginhawa. So yun, we created Maginhawa Food Community. We started as a Facebook group only with only several members, and now more than 50,000 na yun nandun, doing their own businesses digitally. But in Maginhawa itself, more than 80 members na kami. And the LGU of Quezon City has been very supportive, especially Mayor Joy. One of her priorities kasi yun is really to empower the small businesses. If you visit Maginhawa, walang big businesses doon kasi may ordinance na bawal. So, para mag-thrive yung mga small businesses. So, super nice, di ba? Okay. Other big brands like Starbucks, Jollibee, McDonald's, they've been trying to really even buy lots there. Pero bawal talaga. So, yun yung isang very good ordinance na makikita mo na inaalagaan talaga ng city yung MSMEs. Kaya ngayon, we're back. I think we're back kasi maingay na uli yung Maginhawa. And nakatulong yung yung initiative namin to really promote each other, not only our own restaurants. Kasi kapag pinomote mo yung restaurant mo, of course, pupunta yun sa'yo, pero marirealize mo na hindi naman sila araw-araw kakain sa'yo eh. Di ba? Pwede silang lumipat-lipat doon. But the main point is, supported lahat ng restaurants. Ayun.
Right. So this business started before the pandemic, right, and now it's grown into this community with other restaurants. Yeah. Or can you take me back? So tama ba? It started out from your garage.
Yes.
Tapos it's a family business.
It's a family
so paano yung
business.
Structure doon? And ano yung main scope and responsibilities mo into this?
Nice question. Like other businesses, like Aristocrat. I know the owners of Aristocrat kasi they're relatives as well. For more than 8 decades, parang they wanted to be handled only by the family. Only the family. Imagine 80 years. Tapos parang on their 80th decade ata, yung pinag-usapan nila, I think they had to expand already. Imagine after 80 years lang. So, sabi ko sa family na, okay naman to na tayo may handle lahat nito. Pero we should also realize na we also have other priorities. Not only the restaurant. Yeah. So we can also grow individually. So on our 10th year, so that was 2 years ago, we professionalized our systems. After 10 years, So before talagang bara-bara lang. Walang systems at all, walang inventory. Basta makapagbenta. Yeah. And we have our staff din naman. So on our 10th year, we said na we need to professionalize this for us to expand, for us to evolve beyond Maginhawa. So that's our main goal right now, to professionalize our structure internally, professionalize the training of our staff, our inventory, and eventually to expand and be present in other areas, at least in Metro Manila muna. So, ayun, parang it's been one of my frustrations. Kasi parang my parents were really hands-on out of respect, di ba? Parang hindi ka naman biglang manghihimasok lang that we need to change everything. Hindi naman ganun Kasi you need to respect na yun yung focus nila They resigned from their jobs to really focus on the restaurant. So eventually, unti-unti na kaming pinapasok sa flow mismo ng business. And currently, I'm handling the finance and the marketing side. And the external partnerships, mga ganun. So far it's doing well. So, parang ang mahirap kapag family business, hindi mo alam kung saan yung line from being a family to being business people. So, ganyan sinasabi ko, I'm speaking as a business person now. Para no emotions involved. Usually, pag family, super daming emotions. Para stop. Kasi hindi siya makakatulong. So, ayun, you really need to have a sit down with them. Hindi pa pwedeng sa chat lang kayo nag-uusap. Before kasi ganun lang So lagi sinasabi, let's do a sit down, pag-usapan natin to, list natin lahat ng problema, tas let's propose solution. So ganun na usually yung flow namin. So far, professionalizing is really the best outcome after 10 years.
Right. So now, obviously, you're doing all of these innovations inside your business. Pero what do you think it takes for a restaurant to survive in Maginhawa?
Siguro on the basics, kailangan alam mo yung capacity. You need to trust your products first before you open, of course. Kasi iba-iba yung yung on the rent alone, yung ilalabas mong capital dyan. So kailangan aware ka, solid yung plan mo na you can thrive and survive for at least 6 months to 1 year. Kasi yung iba, napaghihinaan agad ng loob na parang first 3 months, wala masyadong tao. Tapos parang may isip na sila to close it down agad. So, ayun, talaga it takes massive planning to, una, ikaw dapat yung maniwala sa brand mo. Na kahit sobrang dami mong kompetensya along the street or digitally, kaya niya mag-stand out. So yun, you should have a solid plan. You need to trust your product. And at the same time, siguro yung bias ko rin coming from as a community mobilizer na it's important to also be part of associations kasi nagtutulungan kayo eh. Of course, competitors kayo, 'di ba? Pero at the same time, kapag may organized community kasi, nagtutulungan yung mga yan. Like us in Maguinhao Food Community, na while we're busy with our own businesses, we also make time to support other businesses simply by dining there or discussing with them. Kamusta yung business nyo? How can we help kung meron challenges? As in, we have this very busy Viber group. Yung mga simple things of asking a supplier for this ingredient, bato-bato lang, super dali lang talaga. Talagang tulungan lahat. So, ayun, siguro lalo for those who are interested to open stores in Maginhawa, join us kasi we can somehow help you navigate the market in Maginhawa.
Right. Yeah. Kasi my understanding of Maginhawa, syempre you have all these new restaurants and businesses popping out all the time, di ba? And before the community you built, what was the community or the landscape like? Was it more competitive?
Well, yeah, yung competition nandun naman. Though walang organized community at all. So, kaya the LGU was really supportive sa amin nung nalaman nila na meron kaming informal group na sila pa yung nagsabi na magpa-register kayo sa SEC para may legal entity kayo so we can directly help you sa mga initiatives ninyo. So, yun.
So, paano mo binenta yung idea na, okay, well, let's gather up and help each other?
Siguro nagkataon na nagsunod-sunod yung pag-reach out ko sa LGU. So it was a really informal letters na writing to the mayor na ito yung problems namin. As in may time pa na naglakad ako all throughout 2-kilometer stretch yun. Giving out that letter na sinulat ko na isi-send ko sa LGU if they could sign about the parking issue. Kasi ang initial issue noon prior to the pandemic was the car towing. Kasi national road ng Maginhawa, from MMDA's perspective, bawal ang parking. Pero from the perspective of the LGU, pwede. So nagka-clash. So parang we wanted the LGU strong support to talk to MMDA to deal with them. So from there on, parang the LGU siguro realized na it would be much better kung organized kayo as an entity. Kasi ako, I was only representing Urban Check, our restaurant. Pero mas may pangil siya kung one whole community kayo, kung 80 plus restaurants kayo nagsasalita. So, yun yung main reason.
So, LGU was very supportive.
Yeah.
What about the feedback from the different business owners?
Well, happy sila kasi parang at last na merong, kung nahirapan sila lumapit sa LGU or to other officials, pwede nilang idaan sa MFC and via MFC pataas sa LGU. So, ganoon naman talaga eh. Ang role, ako I'm teaching, 'di ba, sa UP Open University. And yung roles ng civil society, lalo ng civil society organizations, is to serve as a bridge sa dalawang groups. Kunwari, ang sabi nga nila, a CSO serve as a bridge of the powerful to the powerless. So, let's say, powerless, pero hindi naman powerless yung mga businesses, di ba? Let's say, sila yung walang voice. Tapos si MFC yung bridge. Kasi organized siya. Tapos may legal entity siya. Kinikilala siya ng LGU. Mas may system kami to deliver the messages.
Okay. So, this started during the pandemic?
Yes.
And then, it's still ongoing now.
Correct.
You have a bigger community.
Yes.
Can you tell me about some of the challenges that you maybe experienced trying to build that community?
Siguro yung tuloy-tuloy na challenge namin ngayon is, despite our efforts for the street, meron pa rin mga restaurants na usually the bigger restaurants. Kasi meron din mga bigger restaurants eh. Pero hindi sila big in a way na marami silang branches. Bigger sila kasi malaki, literal, yung stores nila. Parang they feel na I can only assume na parang baka they feel na they don't need a community anymore. Kasi they can thrive on their own. So, yun yung patuloy na challenge and frustration ko na bakit hindi sila sumasali. Pero it's more on kailangan tuloy-tuloy talaga yung pakikipag-usap sa kanila. Kasi when we do public events, like when we close the roads for our public events, nakikinabang din sila lahat eh. Manari, yung annual events namin every December, 30 to 40,000 people yon every year. So, added customers din yun sa kanila. So, yun, tuloy-tuloy siya na challenge. Number 2 is, in any organization, financial din. So, you really need to be very creative to have mechanisms to have income coming in. And of course, recruitment. Kasi di ba yun yung life and blood ng any organization. Kung wala namang sasali sa inyo, walang sense yung organization ninyo. Lalo na community namin, binabrand yung community namin.
Right. So, since you talked about like the finance side of this MFC community, where does the usual spending go ba? Is it into the employees you have in the MFC or may mga projects ba kayong pinafocusan?
Well, on the project side, when we started doing big projects, I think that was 2022 to 2023, sumobrang dami. Like 7 to 8 events, street events yun. So parang naubos kami masyado. So instead of focusing on the welfare of our members, nandun na lang kami sa events. Parang naging event-centric siya masyado. So nag-pivot kami year after, just one event in summer and one event in December. Tapos, we just help out sa LGU every June for the Pride Month. Kasi di ba may big Pride Month event sa QC lagi. And then, all throughout the year, we make sure na we do trainings, yung mga needs ng mga stores namin, like food safety, front of house training, etc. How to efficiently deal with your compliances. Kasi yung pinakamasakit sa ulo sa mga businesses, di ba? Dealing with your compliances, yung mga renewal of business permits, sa barangay, sa city, sa national. Sobrang dami. So, nakakaubos na ng oras. So, yun. We're trying to strike a balance na okay kami internally. We're trying to serve our members well, and at the same time, yung outside, yung facing namin sa mga customers namin, okay din.
Okay. So, in terms of like the things you do day to day, hindi lang pala siya more on events, you're also training these businesses on how they can improve. Can you tell me like how you built MFC around specific principles? Like ano yung mga guiding values or principles that you adopted into MFC that you also carry as a leader?
Yeah, siguro this can be applied in my experiences when I started 2030 Youth Force, Maginhawa Food Community. Kasi I'm a student of public administration eh. So, in our curriculum, tinuro sa amin how good governance works. So, if you look at the definition of the UN, when you're talking about good governance, may certain principles yan. But up until now, may tumatak sa akin, may acronym is TAP. T is for transparency, A is for accountability, and P is for participation. So as we know, di ba, transparency and accountability, ito yung usual two na madidikit mo sa good governance. Na when you're trying to build an organization, if you want to build trust among your members and even your stakeholders, kailangan may sense of transparency na nakikita nila kung ano yung mga pinag-uusapan ninyo, ano yung mga documents na ginagamit ninyo, how's the state of your finances, among others. So that's very important. That builds trust. Number 2, for accountability, na you show na you are responsible to your decisions, di ba, na hindi mo isisisi lang sa mga subordinates mo just because nagkamali siya, na you also take accountability doon. So, may pagtataya basically na accountable tayo bawat isa sa actions natin sa organization natin. So, it's not only you, di ba? At hindi lang sila mag-isa. Kung lahat kayo, buong organization nyo, may panalo kayong lahat. Pero pag may nagkamali, yung pagkakamali niya, pwedeng pagkakamali din nating lahat. Something like that. So, that's accountability. And participation, na we make sure na the glory of the organization is not centered to you only. Diba? Even if you're the founder or the president of the organization, it should be shared. Kasi I believe in shared leadership na hindi porket ikaw yung presidente or ikaw yung founder, sa'yo nakasentro lahat yung powers or yung wisdom. It should be scattered efficiently dun sa mga members niyo. Kasi that's the only way to sustain the organization. Kasi you're not forever there. To be honest, I struggled with this when I was starting. I felt na may utang na loob sa akin yung mga fellow members ko kasi I created this and that organization. But I realized na I was just an instrument during the start. Pero kung yung growth ng organization, it's not because of me, but it's because of the collective efforts of everyone. So yun, transparency, accountability, and participation. Make sure everyone's involved, na you make them feel na meron silang stake doon sa organization, na they are important in the organization kasi in the first place, di ba, kaya sila nandun, kaya mo sila pinasok sa organization kasi meron silang maaambag na bago na pwedeng hindi ko alam. So, yun yung tatlong bagay na ina-apply ko sa lahat ng organization.
So it's nice that you have this TAP, no, yung structure na yan. On participation, I want to get to know your thoughts kasi you talked about working with, kumbaga, yung ego sa youth force, iba-ibang people. And I guess here din sa Maginhawa food community, iba-ibang personalities, iba-ibang motivations din. How are you able to maintain collaboration between all of the people you interact with?
Ayun, I believe in shared leadership. So, it's not only me, yung center of power and wisdom in the organization. So, I always consult, lalo na when we do meetings na, what's your take on this? Hindi yung ibibigay ko agad kung ano yung take ko dito. Lalo na if you're the head of this organization, when you start with the marching orders agad, parang it limits your fellow members to share their piece. So it's important, yung style ko at least, I lay down the agenda and ask people what they think. Tapos eventually, kung yung na-prepare ko na take ko on a certain matter, ay ganito yung pagka-frame, minsan nag-iiba siya. Kasi ito pala yung nararamdaman or paniniwala ng iba't ibang mga members ko. So I think it also entails a flexibility from the side of the leader. It's very important na you don't limit yourself doon sa mga beliefs mo. Kasi you are there not only for yourself but for the interest of the organization.
Were there any times that you feel like you've failed in terms of properly following your TAP structure, or maybe even failed as a leader?
Yeah, many times for sure. Especially kapag sobrang may time constraint,
right,
na meron kang kailangan decision before a particular matter. Like right now, while we're recording, I'm dealing with several people in the organization right now, whether or not to release a public statement of support for several politicians this elections, past elections. So I think it takes patience as well, and paano ba? Creativity rin. You need to be a very creative leader on how to frame your messaging. Kasi messaging is very important na kahit nag-decide na kami as core leaders of the organizations to release, we also need to release a statement. We also need to respect the views of our members. Diba? Na will we still release it kung yung general feel ng buong organization is against it. So, kailangan namin i-balance yung interest ng buong organization. So, yeah, many times naman, may mga failures din ako dyan. And doon sa mga failures na yon, usually, yun yung tinatranslate ko siya as a strength eventually. Kasi minsan yung mga failures natin, we experience it kasi it's the first time we're doing it or it's the first time that we did it. Diba? Kaya nga tayo nagkamali. So, we should learn from that. At kung magkakaroon uli ng failure, bangon lang ulit. Pero kung failure lagi, may mali. So, kailangan merong times lagi to take a pause and to think about why it keeps on failing. So, yun minsan yung ginagawa ko na, ewan ko, siguro nung medyo mas nagmamature na ako, nung 20s ko, parang parang fast-paced lagi. Kahit may failures, okay, move on agad. Pero ngayon kapag may failure, pause muna ako. Saan nagkamali? Ano yung pwedeng baguhin para hindi na maulit?
On the topic of failures, just for our listeners, are there any like moments that really stood out for you na parang, next time I'll take note of this? Or parang pwede mo share to our viewers na top 10 things you should never do. Yung parang, you have to learn from my mistake na and don't commit it. Are there any advice you can share, maybe for someone who wants to open their own business? Right. Or someone working in organizations?
Top of mind ngayon would be 2. Siguro first with my career. As I mentioned earlier, I was fired doon sa PTV because of being very vocal. I was really regretting that moment kasi jobless ka during the pandemic. Di ba? Sobrang hirap nun. Pero eventually, di ba parang yung realizations ko that time, dapat hindi ko na tinweet yun. Dapat kasi nag-fist bump na lang ako sa kanila. Dapat all-out support mouthpiece na lang ako. Pero hindi parang kaya ko bang matulog sa gabi na ganun yung stand ko. I mean, siguro yung iba kaya nila, di ba? Well and good. Pero hindi kasi tayo pare-pareho di ba? Na hindi ako makakatulog ng mahimbing na ipaparot lang yung sinasabi nila kahit alam kong mali. So, pwedeng ma-realize mo siya at that moment na mali, na mistake siya. Pero, kapag magtitake ka ng pause at pag-iisipan mo, tama din naman pala yung ginawa ko kasi nag-draw ako ng line na hanggang dito lang yun. At matagal ko na siyang inaantay before na kailan ako mag-draw ng line. Kailangan ba sobrang libo-libo pa yung mamatay bago ako mag-draw ng line. So, na-realize ko na tama naman siya. Yung realization ko lang is, baka may ibang proper way pa ako to do it. So, that's number 1. Number 2, 2022 elections, business naman namin sa Urban Chic. Yung family namin, yung background kasi namin, we've been very vocal and talagang activist din kasi yung dad ko and very vocal din yung mom ko. So, alam mo yun, parang it runs in the family. Tapos we feel na we have a platform We consider Urban Chic as a platform as well. As in, we take stands on issues sometimes. Ang dami na in the past. And we also took a stand in the 2022 elections. We post banners of who we support. Even now, in the 2025 elections. Pero that time, I think that elections was a really toxic elections. Kasi grabe yung atmosphere that time So what we did was, we were proud to not entertain a bulk order from a certain politician just because we don't like their politics. Marami nag-support, as in tuwan-tuwa sila, but we also realized na kailangan ba umabot sa point na gano'n na ibabandera pa namin na we did not get this bulk order just because we don't like their politics. So parang na-realize namin na yung iba naman gusto lang kumain talaga Di ba? Parang ayaw nila na wala kaming pakialam sa politics. Gusto lang namin umorder para may pangkain doon sa So, the realization there is you also need to set boundaries doon sa advocacies. But of course, if there's one thing ako na proud doon sa moment na yun, at kami as a family, is we do not compromise our business. Lalo na kung alam namin na, basta yun na lang, we do not compromise our business just because merong bulk order na malaking business na papasok sa amin. If that's our stand from the very start, then be it. Pero nga, it was a very stressful moment during that time kasi very vile yung mga tao during that time. Ayun.
Do you think it's important for businesses to have advocacies that they stand for?
It depends eh. Yung iba kasi, ginagawa nilang strategic. Okay lang na strategic. Pero kasi when you're talking about advocacy, you really need to mean it na you're genuine enough na you're supporting this advocacy because you really want to support it. Not because you want tax breaks or alam mo yun, na sometimes it comes with it, di ba? Yung iba, they hire from the marginalized. Kasi may mas mababa pala yung sweldo. Di ba? Well and good kung super genuine ka doon sa advocacy na yun, okay yun. Pero if you're just using them or this set of people para lang makatipid ka sa operations nyo, medyo pag-isipan natin, sayang naman.
Right. Okay. So you talk about incorporating advocacy in business and maybe even your personal life. And advocacy is very strong in the Maginhawa food community, di ba? Yeah. Pero in terms of that organization, it's focused on Maginhawa. Are there any limitations in terms of future plans for that? Or how do you think Maginhawa food community will become in the future?
Actually, may one interesting question na binato sa amin. Until where do we want development to happen in Maginhawa? Kasi if you'll try to compare in other food districts like Poblacion, Morato area, Capitolio, di ba mga mix of residential and businesses. So ang tanong nila parang, do we want to extend to that kind of level na yung mga houses kino-convert na lahat to restaurants or yung mga ibang houses ginigiba na para gawing building para mas maraming commercial. It's an ongoing discussion sa community namin kasi of course we cannot control how a lot owner, 'di ba, what they want to do with their properties. Pero sa amin kasi sa community, malaki yung stake namin doon sa future ng Maginhawa. Kung gusto ba namin na parang maging Morato in the future or parang maging Poblacion in the future. Si Mayor, sabi niya gusto maging parang Poblacion. Pero siyempre, as a resident as well in Maginhawa, may possibility na mawala yung original charm ng Maginhawa kung talagang puro outsider na yung papasok. So I think there should be a perfect balance na the market is open for everyone, of course, but at the same time, mabigyan din natin ng opportunities and chance yung mga original residents doon na they can actually do it as well on their own so long as merong support na ibibigay sa kanila. Kasi right now may trend as in yung mga old houses ginigiba na, malalaki yung mga properties doon, tapos ginagawang buildings na. Kasi they can also earn bigger, so much, kung paparent nila lahat yung gagawin nila sa building nila. So, yun yung isang way, may isang part doon sa part ng development. Number 2 is, yung ongoing struggle nga is doon sa parking, di ba? Kasi customers namin to may mga ginagawang pinopropose na projects ngayon na may mga multi-level parking na gagawin. So that would be better if they don't want the on-street parking. Kailangan merong alternative. Yun yung isang learning namin na kung meron policy na gagawin ng city, there should be a ready solution that will address the problem. Kasi kunwari, there was a time na 3 months may ginawang project dun sa Maginhawa na bawal ang parking. namiligro ibang businesses. Kasi kahit nasabihin natin na hindi naman lahat ng customers nakakotse, may significant portion din sila of the clientele na nakakotse. Diba? I mean, okay siya for the pedestrians and all, pero may nawala eh. So, kailangan may naka-ready agad na solution or alternatives para doon sa market na mawawala.
Okay. So, I don't want to say, because you dabbled into, kumbaga, possibly the maximum growth ng Maginhawa food community. Syempre may limitations nga, of course, losing its charm or paano the space you take. And also, going back to Youth Force, diba? It's near 2030.
Yes.
So parang these organizations you're taking part of, I think somehow there are limitations to your participation in them, possibly. So in the future, how do you set your goals? What endeavors do you think you will take for yourself? And how will you go professionally?
Right. With Maginhawa, kasi with the Youth Force, kumbaga nakagraduate na ako eh. Diba? I'm already serving now as board chair, and our primary task is really on the top line policy level. With Maginhawa, ganun din yung maging direction eh, na though ayaw pa nila ako mag-step down, pero ako somehow siguro I'm only checking siguro 1 to 2 years pa as president. Tapos eventually, kasi we're doing elections na eh, this June. And ako yung nag-push talaga nun para magkaroon ng new set of leaders. So, they're saying to elect me again. Pero that's okay. Pero after that, it should be another set of leaders naman para magkaroon ng different direction. And it would be better for the organization para hindi nga parang in a vacuum lang yung power ng isang organization. Professionally, so far I'm enjoying in ADB kasi it's a very good organization. But nandun pa rin yung dream to serve in public service. So, let's see what will happen in the future. So far naman yung ginagawa namin in the community could possibly help us navigate where we want to be in terms of public service. But we'll see. So far, ADB is there and it's a very prestigious organization to work with. So let's see. It's a work in progress.
And in the future, like, what would be the main learnings or kumbaga leadership principles that you think you'll carry even years after from now that you think our listeners should adopt?
Now, there should always be premium, or you should put premium in collective action. Now, while you think you're competent or you're confident enough about your skills and your experiences, nothing beats collective action. Na when you're working in a team, lahat kayo may iba't ibang ambag, lahat kayo may iba't ibang stories, iba't ibang backgrounds, and those are your strengths to have a better organization na hindi lang siya galing sa isang tao. So, kahit pa anong degrees yung meron ka, kahit ano pang titles yung meron ka, mas matimbang pa rin kung galing sa lahat yung decision making.
So, really comes back to participation and shared leadership.
Yes.
Are there any final messages you think our listeners should know from you?
Well, to JCI Manila, thank you for inviting me. I've been listening to the podcast as well and learning so much. Siguro to people out there who are interested to create something or build an initiative, you should have a compelling narrative why you need to create one. Diba? What should be your added value in society? Hindi yung gusto mo lang kasi. Diba? Dapat meron kayong additional na ambag doon sa discussion or doon sa action na ginagawa. Yan lang.
Hey, right here with a leadership tip of the day. To keep the balance, you must keep moving. Albert Einstein. This reminds us that balance is not a static state. It's an ongoing process. By staying proactive and adaptable, you can navigate the complexities of leadership while honoring your well-being and relationships. Now back to the episode.
The Built Different podcast would like to thank Henry's Cameras, Power Mac, Hollyland, Ugreen Philippines, Shoppertainment Live, Kappa Cabina, Surge Digital Media, Madcap Productions, Days Media Group, Jazz Up Communications.
Okay, and we're back on the Built Different podcast once again with Mr. Jules Giang. Sir Jules, I have a little game prepared.
Okay.
So every episode of Built Different, kasi we have a game. So it's different, same. We're gonna try to extract some of your opinions and thoughts with my game specific to this episode, which is a rapid fire question.
Okay.
So you have to dish all of your opinions or all of your thoughts. And so I'm gonna ask you some questions. We have to answer it rapidly. First thing that comes into your mind, that's what we want to hear, okay? Are you ready?
Go.
Okay. First question. Last thing you Googled.
How to go here?
How to go here. Okay. An item you can't live without that is not your phone.
Handkerchief.
Handkerchief.
Yeah.
You have one
Yeah.
right now? Okay. What food best describes your personality?
Shucks. Sinigang?
Sinigang. Maasim.
Sinigang ng manam.
Okay. Good choice. That's what we had. Actually.
May fusion ng kakaiba.
Ayun. Favorite SDG?
16.
16, which is?
Peace, strong institution. Ano nga yun? Isa pa. Peace, justice, and strong institutions.
Okay. Is that the one
Yes.
with the partnership ng PNP?
Yes.
Okay. What is your go-to treat yourself food?
Jamba juice. Boost, ano to? Sea booster. Basta yung
Na
malaki.
shake. Ayun.
Orange. Orange sea booster.
Ayun. Okay. A song that puts you in a good mood.
Shucks. Wala akong maisip pa.
Meron ba when you're in the car, you need a quick pick-me-up?
Kahit anong EDM na nakakabingi.
Mas may EDM.
Oo.
Okay. Weirdest food combo that you like?
That I like. Sinigang ng mana.
Weird
May
naman
watermelon kasi. Pero sarap
okay.
eh.
What is your most used app on your phone?
Facebook.
A dish in Urban Chicks menu that everyone needs to try.
Our ultimate platter. Sorry, platter overload na lang. Platter
Ano yun?
overload.
What's inside?
So, there's this new IKEA food tray na ginagamit mo siya for breakfast only. Pero ginawa namin siya na plate mismo. So, it's full of different meals. May 3 cups of rice. Tapos you have liempo, you have barbecue, you have pasta, pork chop, fried chicken, lahat. So they should try that for only $759.
Ayun. Self-promo. Ayun.
Yes.
Sige, we'll try that. A lie that you used to believe as a kid. Na medyo nakakahiya.
Akala ko lumalabas yung baby sa katawan ng babae as a person. I mean, as a person,
Okay.
this entire thing. So parang inisip ko, paano lumalabas yung tao sa tao?
Which is paano nga ba?
So,
Joke.
napanood niyo yung ano to? Yung recently Substance ba yun?
The Substance. Demi Moore.
Hindi naman ganong level na pinupunit yung likod. Pero parang inisip ko before. Tapos napanood ko pa yung Dumbo. Yung mga babies na dinadala lang sa Kala ko ganun.
Great. Okay. Next.
Stupid, di ba?
Hindi naman. Okay, last question. The most underrated spot in Maguinhawa.
Underrated spot. Kasi hindi na underrated yung underrated before eh.
Or maybe your go-to place in Maguinhawa. That's not Urban Chick.
Anytime Fitness, Maguinhawa.
Really?
Go-to ko.
Pero pag restaurant.
Pag restaurant, Daily Habit. It's a cafe. Tapos nun, parang ano siya eh, yung theme niya is may white, tapos may dark. So parang may dark side siya dito. Yung dark side, pwede ko uminom. Yung sa white side niya, pwede kang coffee.
Okay.
Slacks ng internet.
So, pwede mag-work doon?
Pwede mag-work. Dapat mag-work doon.
Okay.
Tapat lang siya na anytime fitness. So, before working out, work ka muna doon.
Okay, so ang tatry namin sa maginhawa, daily habit, mag-gym sa anytime, tapos yung platter sa Urban Gym.
Yes.
Okay. Well, those are just my questions. Thank you so much for playing our game. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for guesting here on our podcast. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Built Different, and we hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.
The Built Different podcast.
Thank you.
Henry's Cameras, Power Mac, Hollyland, Ugreen Philippines, Shoppertainment Live, Kappa Cabina, Surge Digital Media, Madcap Productions, Days Media Group, Jazz Up Communications.